What is the significant source of atmospheric volatile organic compounds? Volatile organic compounds. Vegetation, particularly forest, emits volatile organic compounds like isoprene and terpenes, which contribute to atmospheric chemistry and aerosol formation. Which atmospheric layer is coldest at its upper boundary? The mesosphere is coldest at its upper boundary, with temperatures dropping to around minus 90 degrees Celsius due to low air density. How does atmosphere protect Earth from solar radiation? The atmosphere absorbs and scatters solar radiation, particularly UV rays, through gases like ozone, protecting life from harmful radiation. Why does temperature increase in the thermosphere? The thermosphere warms due to absorption and high energy solar particles and radiation by sparse gas molecules. Hot gas contribute to formation of photochemical smoke. Nitrogen oxides emits from vehicles and industry, reacts with volatile organic carbons in sunlight to form photochemical smoke. What role do polar stratospheric clouds play in ozone depletion? Polar stratospheric clouds provide surface for chemical reactions that release chlorine and bromine, accelerating ozone depletions. How does the ozone layer benefit terrestrial ecosystems? The ozone layer reduces UV radiation, protecting plants and animals from DNA damage and supporting ecosystem health. What was a dominant gas in Earth's early atmosphere? Carbon dioxide was a dominant gas in Earth's early atmosphere, released through volcanic outgassing. What derives convection in the troposphere? Uneven heating of Earth's surface derives convection in the troposphere, causing air to rise, cool, and form clouds. Why does the southern hemisphere experience colder winters in July? The southern hemisphere tilts away from the sun in July due to Earth's axial tilt, receiving less solar radiation. What does the Köppen classification E represents? The Köppen classification E represents polar climates characterized by extremely cold temperatures and minimal precipitation. What fraction of solar radiation is reflected by Earth's albedo? Approximately 30% of solar radiation is reflected by Earth's albedo, primarily by clouds, ice, and snow. What atmospheric components most enhance Earth albedo? Clouds enhance Earth albedo by reflecting a significant portion of incoming solar radiation back to space. What causes diurnal temperature changes? Earth's rotation causes diurnal temperature changes by altering exposure to sunlight day and darkens night. What determine the energy of electromagnetic radiation in the atmosphere? The energy of electromagnetic radiation is determined by its frequency as described by the equation E is equal to H. Which wind belt influence weather at high latitudes? Polar sterlies influence weather at high latitudes, driven by the polar shell and cold air sinking near the poles. What are anabatic winds? Anabatic winds are upslopes winds driven by daytime heating of elevated terrain, causing air to rise along slopes. What sustains heavy rainfall during Bangladesh monsoon season? Moist southeast winds from the Bay of Bengal carrying warm, humid air sustain heavy monsoon rainfall in Bangladesh. What forms the equatorial low pressure zone? Rising warm air heating by instant solar radiation at the equator forms the equatorial low pressure zones. Which force primarily derives wind movements? The pressure gradient force derives wind movements by passing air from high pressure to low pressure areas. What is the primary moisture source for Bangladesh monsoon? The Bay of Bengal is the primary moisture source, providing water vapor through evaporation for monsoon rainfall. Which reservoir stores the most fresh water on earth? Ice caps and glaciers store approximately 68% of earth's fresh water, primarily in Antarctica and Greenland. What is frontal wedging in atmospheric process? Frontal wedging occurs when a cold air mass forces a warmer air mass to rise, leading to cloud formation and precipitation. Which cloud type processes steady, heavy rainfall? Nimbostratus clouds produce steady, heavy rainfall, often associated with widespread precipitation. What is frost and how does it form? Frost formed when water vapor deposits as ice crystals on surfaces cooled below the freezing point, typically at night. What process derives precipitation in warm clouds? The coalescence process derives precipitation in warm clouds where water droplets collides and merge to form raindrops. What is absorbed during water evaporation in the atmosphere? Latent heat is absorbed during water evaporation, cooling the surrounding environments. What does absolute humidity measure? Absolute humidity measures the mass of water vapor per unit volume of air, typically expressed in gram per cubic meter. Which atmospheric circulation cell device westerlies? The Ferrel cell derives westerlies, influencing mid-latitudes weather systems. What is the eye well of a tropical cyclone? The eye well is the ring of intense thunderstorms and strong winds surrounding the calm eye of a tropical cyclone. What is a global effect of La Nina on weather patterns? La Nina increased rainfall in South Asia and Australia by strengthening monsoon systems and altering ocean temperatures. What initiates monsoon circulation in South Asia? Differential heating between the land and ocean creates a low pressure system over the continent, drawing moist air from the Indian Ocean. What does Max Planck's law describe for Earth's surface? Max Planck's law describes the spectral distribution of blackbody radiation emitted by Earth's surface based on its temperature. How does temperature affect photochemical smoke formation? Higher temperatures accelerate chemical reactions between volatile organic carbons and nitrous oxide, increasing photochemical smoke formation. What is a natural source of atmospheric aerosols? Sea salt produced by ocean spray and wave action is a natural source of atmospheric aerosols. How do aerosols influence visibility? Aerosols scatter light, reducing visibility by creating haze in the atmosphere. What health issue is caused by exposure to fine aerosols? Fine aerosols cause respiratory inflammation by penetrating deep into the lungs, aggravating conditions like asthma. What does contributes to acid rain formation through sulfuric acid? Sulfur dioxide SO2 contributes to acid rain by reacting with water and oxygen to form sulfuric acid. How does acid rain affect forest? Acid rain leaches essential nutrients from soil, weakening trees and reducing forest health. What process forms secondary aerosols in the atmosphere? Gas to particle conversion forms secondary aerosols where gases like sulfur dioxide react to create particulate matter. What atmospheric factor is essential for pollutant transport modeling? Wind direction is essential as it determines the path and spread of pollutants in the atmosphere. How are primary aerosols generated? Primary aerosols are generated through mechanical processes such as wind erosion or volcanic eruptions that release particles directly into the air. What human activity significantly derives global warming? Industrial emissions, particularly from burning fossil fuels, release greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, driving global warming. Which greenhouse gas is emitted from wastewater treatment? Methane is emitted from wastewater treatment due to anaerobic decomposition of organic matter. How does climate change impact Bangladesh agriculture? Climate change causes salinization and flooding in Bangladesh, reducing arable land and crop yields. What causes atmospheric instability during Bangladesh monsoon? The rapid ascent of warms moisture air causes atmospheric instability, leading to thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. What is the socio-economic impact of climate change in Bangladesh? Climate change leads to displacement of communities due to flooding, cyclones, and sea level rise, disrupting livelihoods. What is the primary source of atmospheric nitrogen oxides? Vehicles emissions, particularly from internal combustion engines, are a primary source of atmospheric nitrogen oxides, which atmospheric layer contains the ozone layer. The stratosphere contains the ozone layer, which absorbs harmful UV radiation. What is the role of atmosphere in the global carbon cycle? The atmosphere acts as a reservoir for carbon cycle, enhancing it with oceans, plants, and soil through processes like respiration and photosynthesis. What is the primary driver of global atmospheric circulation? Uneven solar heating of Earth's surface derives global atmospheric circulation, creating pressure difference and wind patterns. What is the significance of intertropical convergence zone? The intertropical convergence zone is a low pressure zone near the equator where trade winds converge, driving heavy rainfall and tropical weather systems. What is the primary source of atmospheric carbon dioxide in the modern era? The primary source of atmospheric carbon dioxide today is the combustion of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas for energy production, transportation, and industrial processes. Which atmospheric layer is responsible for weather phenomena? The troposphere is responsible for weather phenomena as it contains most of the atmosphere's water vapor and support convection currents that derive weather systems. How does the atmosphere regulate earth temperature? The atmosphere regulates earth temperature through the greenhouse effect, where gases like carbon dioxide and methane trap infrared radiation, preventing excessive heat loss. Why does the stratosphere experience a temperature increase with altitude? The stratosphere's temperature increase with altitude due to absorption of ultraviolet radiations by the ozone layer, which generates heat. Hot gas plays a significant role in forming tropospheric ozone. Nitrogen oxides emits from vehicles and industrial processes, reacts with volatile organic compounds in sunlight to form tropospheric ozones. Hot chemical accelerates stratospheric ozone depletion. Chlorine, primarily from chlorofluorocarbons CFCs, catalyze the breakdown of ozone molecules into oxygen in the stratosphere. How does the ozone layer protect human health? The ozone layer absorbs harmful UV radiation, reducing the risk of skin cancer, cataracts, and other UV related health issues. Hot process significantly increased oxygen in Earth's early atmospheres. Photosynthesis by cyanobacteria and early plants increased oxygen levels by converting carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and glucose. What is the defining characteristic of the troposphere? The troposphere is characterized by active convection currents which derive weather patterns and mix air, water vapor, and pollutants. Why does the northern hemisphere experience colder winters in January? The northern hemisphere tilts away from the sun in January due to Earth's axial tilt, receiving less direct solar radiation and causing colder temperature. What does the Köppen classification A represents? The Köppen classification A represents tropical climates characterized by high temperature and significant rainfall throughout the year. What fraction is solar radiation is absorbed by Earth's surface? Approximately 50% of incoming solar radiation is absorbed by Earth's surface, including land and oceans. The atmospheric components must enhance solar radiation scattering. Aerosols such as dust and sulfate particles scatter solar radiation, reducing the amount reaching the surface. What causes seasonal temperature variations globally? Seasonal temperature variations are caused by Earth's axial tilt, which alters the angle and intensity of solar radiation received throughout the year. What property of electromagnetic radiation determines its atmospheric absorption? Wavelength determines the absorption of electromagnetic radiation, as specific wavelengths are absorbed by gases like ozone and water vapor. Which wind belt dominates near the equator? Trades winds dominates near the equator, driving by hardly sail and converging at the intertropical convergence zone. What are katabatic winds? Katabatic winds are downslope winds driving by the cooling of air over elevated terrains, typically occurring at night. What is the primary driver of heavy rainfall in Bangladesh's monsoon season? Moist southwest winds from the Bay of Bengal carrying warm, humid air derive heavy monsoon rainfall in Bangladesh. What forms of subtropical high pressure belts sinking cool air in the hardly sail form subtropical sail pressure belts at approximately 30 degrees Celsius latitude north and south. Which force initiates atmospheric wind movement? The pressure gradients force initiates wind movement by driving air from high pressure to low pressure regions. What is the main moisture source for South Asia's monsoon? The Indian Oceans, particularly the Bay of Bengal, provides the primary moisture for South Asia's monsoon through evaporation. Which reservoir contains the most water on Earth? The oceans contain approximately 97% of Earth water, dominating the global water reservoir. What is orographic lift in the context of atmospheric process? Orographic lift occurs when air is forced to rise over elevated terrain, cooling and often leading to cloud formation and precipitation. Which cloud type is associated with thunderstorms? Cumulonimbus clouds are associated with thunderstorms, providing heavy rain, lightning, and strong winds. What is fog and how does it form? Fog is a cloud near the ground formed when water vapor condenses in air cooled to its dew point, typically at night, within high humidity conditions. Hot process derives rain formation in warm clouds. The coalescence process derives rain formation in warm clouds where water droplets collides and meets to form large drops. Hot is released during water condensation in the atmosphere. Latent heat is released during water condensation, warming the surrounding air. What does relative humidity indicate? Relative humidity indicates the percentage of water vapor in the air compared to the maximum amount of air can hold at a given temperature, which atmospheric circulation cell derives trade winds. The Hartley cell derives trade winds which flow toward the equator from subtropical high pressure zones. What is the eye of a tropical cyclone? The eye of a tropical cyclone is a calm, low pressure region at the center, surrounded by intense winds and heavy rain in the eye well. What is a common global effect of El Nino? El Nino often reduces rainfall in South Asia, weakening monsoons and causing droughts in affected regions. What initiates monsoon winds in South Asia? Land heating creates a low pressure system over the continents, drawing moist air from the Indian Ocean to initiate monsoon winds. What does Max Planck's law describe the context of atmospheric radiation? Max Planck's law describes the spectral distribution of radiation emitted by a black body such as Earth's surface or atmosphere based on temperature and wavelength. How does temperature influence tropospheric chemical reactions? Higher temperatures increases the rate of tropospheric chemical reactions, accelerating processes like ozone formation. What is a natural source of atmospheric aerosols? Wildfires are a natural source of atmospheric aerosols, releasing smoke and particulate matter into the air. How do aerosols affect Earth's climate? Aerosols reflect sunlight back to space, causing a cooling effect by reducing the amount of solar radiation reaching the surface. What health issues is associated with exposure to fine aerosols? Fine aerosols are linked to respiratory problems as they can penetrate deep into the lungs and cause inflammation. What does contributes to sulfuric acid formation in acid rain? Sulfur dioxide reacts with water and oxygen in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid, a key component of acid rain. How does acid rain impact aquatic ecosystem? Acid rain lowers the pH of water bodies, harming aquatic life by disrupting reproduction and survival of sensitive species. What process alters the composition of atmospheric aerosols? Chemical reactions such as oxidation and photochemical processes alters the composition of atmospheric aerosols. What atmospheric factors is critical for pollutants dispersion modeling? Atmospheric turbulence is critical as it determines how pollutants mix and spread in the atmosphere. How does secondary aerosols formed in the atmosphere? Secondary aerosols formed from through gas to particle conversion where gases like sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxide reacts to create particulate matter. What human activities significantly contribute to global warming? Fossil fuel combustion, including coal, oil, and natural gas, releasing greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, driving global warming. Which greenhouse gas is emitted from rice paddies? Methane is emitted from rice paddies due to anaerobic decomposition in flooded fields. How does climate change affect Bangladesh's coastal regions? Climate change causes salinization in Bangladesh's coastal regions due to sea level rise, impacting agriculture and freshwater resource. What causes atmospheric instability during Bangladesh monsoon season? Rapid ascent of warm, moist air causes atmospheric instability, triggering storms and heavy rainfall during the monsoon. What is the socio-economic impact of climate change in Bangladesh? Climate change causes economic losses in Bangladesh due to flooding and cyclones, which damage agriculture, infrastructure, and livelihoods. What is the primary source of atmospheric ammonia? Agricultural activities, particularly the use of nitrogen fertilizers and livestock waste, are the primary source of atmospheric ammonia. Which atmospheric layer is home to the ionospheres? The thermosphere contains the ionosphere, where ionized gases facilitate radio wave propagation and auroras. What is the significance of the ozone layer for marine ecosystem? The ozone layer protects marine ecosystem by reducing UV radiations, which can damage phytoplankton and other marine organisms. What is the primary driver of global wind patterns? The uneven heating of Earth's surface by solar radiation drives global wind patterns through pressure difference and circulation cells.